Well, welcome to the Microsoft Excel in 5 Minutes series presented by Stratfield Solutions. Today's topic, we're going to be covering absolute referencing in Excel, which if you've ever tried to drag a formula and get a lot of values that you're not anticipating, or maybe you're getting a hashtag or pound sign and the letters N-A, this could be because you're dragging a formula and not referencing a particular cell or cells that contain the information that you want to have. So quickly, we're going to go through a basic formula sheet and show you how you can reference either absolute, meaning always referring back to one cell, or relative referencing, meaning that the cells are going to move positions depending on what your application is. So we have a basic layout here of some stock information, and in this column D, there's a basic formula just multiplying the stock price and the number of shares to get the value of these stocks in a portfolio. So if you were an investment advisor, somebody might come and say, well, what would happen if my stocks all increased by 5%? And so we've put an assumption down here saying the rate that we're going to increase these values of shares by is 5%. So normally, if you're familiar with Excel at all, you know you have to enter an equal sign before any formula, so we'll do that. And we know that this is the value we're going to want to increase. Since it's obviously going to continue to be worth what it is today, just 5% higher, we will do a multiplication times 1 plus the rate that we want to grow the value of these shares by. Close the parentheses and hit enter. And if the value of these particular shares for the stock PPL increased by 5%, the price would end up being $1,541.93. So you may be thinking, well, great, I'm going to be able to then apply that formula to all of the remaining investments. And so hovering over the bottom right corner of the cell, you will see that the crosshairs of the cursor have moved into a narrow black cross, and that means that you can drag by left-clicking and holding and dragging down to the cell that you want to end the formula with. So when I release the mouse, we'll see that it did populate a bunch of values, but I'm noticing that some of these numbers look like they're the same, and sure enough, they are. We know that the first formula we wrote was valid, but when I go here, I'll see and click in there so you can see what cells are being referenced. I am multiplying the value I wanted, but it's now moved down a cell so that I'm only increasing, or rather increasing by 10% instead of 5%. Then if I was to check this formula, it's actually multiplying the value by the cell below 10%, which doesn't have any value, and that's why you see that the value here and the value here are the same. Subsequently, after I've dragged down, there's no value in this cell either. So to prevent this from happening, you would go up into the formula bar, and if you've ever seen dollar signs in Excel within a formula, those are referencing or locking a particular column and a particular row. So letter values in cells are for the columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dollar sign ahead of the B, and that will tell Excel, do not move columns. I want to stay in column B, but I also don't want Excel to go from row 8 to row 9. I want to keep it exactly in that cell. So if you absolute reference both the column and the row, you are absolute referencing or locking the reference to that particular cell. When I click enter, the value will be the same here because I am multiplying by the same values. Now if I go to the crosshairs and drag down, you do see that the values have changed, and we can do a quick spot check. And sure enough, now I am multiplying every value by the 5%. If I wanted to drag this over, you'll see that I am increasing by something, but if I said I wanted to increase it by 10%, now I've locked myself to always reference that cell. So what I could potentially do is I could go and change the formula, and I could reference the cell below it if I so chose, or as we'll show you in a next presentation or mini-series lecture, I'll show you how to rearrange the columns in a way that makes the formula dragging easier. So with that, you've now seen how to absolute reference a cell within a formula in a spreadsheet in Excel, and you can use that to go forward and produce a lot of analysis a lot more quickly. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and check us out on our YouTube and like and subscribe this video for more content from Stratfield Solutions. Take care.